No, the answer is no. I wanted to clear that up at the very beginning of this video, but there is a very good reason why we are making this video with the title and with the thumbnail that we have. There's a very legit conversation to have about this Montreal Canadiens prospect whom we've talked about before, but who didn't really have the most attractive kind of profile heading into the offseason. Now, today, what we're doing is we're heading over to Russia, and we are talking about the Montreal Canadiens' 144th overall pick in the 2023 NHL Draft. Today, we are talking about Yevgeni Volokhin, who is so obscure that he doesn't even have a picture here on Elite Prospects. He is, as we had said, a Montreal Canadiens goaltender prospect, 19 years old, 6'3", 168 left-handed catching guy. Honestly, a little bit light compared to most other 6'3" hockey players, but Volokhin still is a guy whom we do have reason to talk about. And it all starts on TVA Sports. You see, earlier last week, we had ourselves Vincent Duquette of TVA post this list on the website, the ranking of the 15 best Montreal Canadiens prospects. And of course, it's a list of the top 15 guys. The same names that you will expect to see are the names that you will see. Reinbacher's here, Lane Hudson's here, Demidov is here. It's all good at Applewood, right? But the prospect we are talking about today, Yevgeni Volokhin, was not included, and there was a brief conversation on social media responding to his exclusion. He had the tweet made by Vincent Duquette, who posted about his article, and one of the replies from Frank Lessard goes out there and says this: Depuis 10-11, Vasilevskiy triomphe au sommet... Okay, we're not going to say it like that. For 10 years, Andrei Vasilevskiy has triumphed at the top of the NHL's goaltenders in all categories, in the regular season and in the playoffs. Yevgeni Volokhin, who belongs to the Canadiens, has been supplanting Vasilevskiy's numbers for 2 years in the same league at the same age, and he is not in your top 15? Ouch! What Frank is essentially saying here is that Duquette's list on TVA of the top 15 Canadiens prospect severely lacks the presence of Yevgeni Volokhin. And I wanted to go out there and talk a little bit about these numbers, talk about the comparison, and just what makes Andrei Vasilevskiy such a great player. So for Yevgeni Volokhin, this previous season in the MHL playing for Monty, he had a .938 save percentage in 31 games played. He had a .157 goals against average, and he went 22-4-4. Not to mention the fact that in 7 games in the playoffs, he had a .954 save percentage and a .123 goals against. He had 2 shutouts. He went 3-3-1, so unfortunately his team did get eliminated, but in the 3 wins that he had, 2 of those wins were shutouts. In fact, it is kind of heartbreaking when you take a look at what happened here, because the opponents were able to claw back and win 3 straight after the Montreal team had the initial lead. But either way, for Yevgeni Volokhin, he had himself an incredible season in the MHL, especially when you consider just what kind of league the MHL really is. We've been talking about this in prior videos, but with all the conversation about Ivan Demidov potentially coming over to the Habs straight out of the MHL, it really brings into light just how defensively irresponsible and lackadaisical this league can be, and some of the challenges that Demidov is going to have to face if he goes from MHL hockey to NHL hockey. As a result, these goaltenders, if you go over to the MHL list, Yevgeni Volokhin was 3rd overall in the entire MHL in save percentage, and if you want to talk about his goals against, well, he was at the top of the pack there too, 4th overall, just behind a few other NHL prospects. Now, it gets interesting as well when you acknowledge that just 2 seasons ago, when Volokhin was initially drafted by the Canadiens, he had started out his campaign in the Russian U18 league, eventually working his way up into the MHL. He had a .927 save percentage in 31 games and a .931 in the playoffs that year. That was when the Canadiens initially drafted Volokhin in the 144th overall spot. But if you compare Volokhin and his production to the same guy that was brought up in that Twitter thread a few minutes ago in this video, Andrei Vasilevskiy, things get very, very interesting. Let's go over to Elite Prospects and use the compare and contrast tool because it makes it so much easier for all of us. Here is their page for Yevgeni Volokhin versus Andrei Vasilevskiy. You can talk about some of the intangibles here. Volokhin 6'3", 168, Vasilevskiy 6'4", 225, left-handed guy, drafted by the Canadiens, drafted by the Lightning, etc., etc. But if you go over into their 18-year-old seasons, this was the season that Volokhin just had in the MHL. He had a .938 save percentage at 31 games, yes. When Andrei Vasilevskiy was 18 years old, he had a .930 save percentage with Tolpar Ufa in the MHL. Now, Vasilevskiy also had a big cup of coffee with Silayev. He had a .924 save percentage in 8 KHL games in that season. But the fact is, Andrei Vasilevskiy's rate actually was a little inferior to Volokhin at the same age. That is not to say that, because when they were 18 years old, Volokhin had a higher save percentage than Vasilevskiy, that means that Volokhin's going to be as good as Vasilevskiy. No, that is not what I'm saying here. Even if you go back over to 17 years old, you'll see that Andrei Vasilevskiy actually did have a superior 17-year-old year compared to Volokhin. He had a .931 save percentage in the MHL. Volokhin had a .927 save percentage in the MHL, so just barely worse. But both of these guys were at the cream of the crop. The 2012 season was also when Andrei Vasilevskiy was drafted by the Lightning, so the numbers, the ages, they aren't too directly translatable, but they are still there when you compare the 17, 18-year-old seasons to one another. Andrei Vasilevskiy played in the MHL at age 18, and then by the time age 19 rolled around, he was a full-time KHL guy, posting up a .923 save percentage in 28 games played. This was already 2 seasons removed from him being drafted, and he was seen by a lot of people as the next best Russian goaltender in the world. For Volokhin, it seems like he'll not play in the KHL next season. It seems like he's going over to the VHL, so there is a little bit of an extra step there for the Canadiens prospect before he has some sort of a similar impact to Vasilevskiy. You can see the rest of the path here for Vasilevskiy. At age 20, he was in the Syracuse Crunch and the NHL, and then at 22, he became a full-time NHL guy, posting up a .917 save percentage in 50 games played. He was really good, and I think nobody is going to discredit Andrei Vasilevskiy. He is now one of the best goaltenders in the world, and pretty much, I'd say, the holistic best goaltender of this generation. I mean, you talk about the numbers, the longevity, the status. Sure, some guys like Igor Shesterkin or Connor Hellebuyck or Thatcher Demko, maybe even, these guys may have higher athletic peaks than Vasilevskiy, but if you take a look at the entire sample size from, let's say, 2015 up until 2025, I think from those years, the best goaltender is Andrei Vasilevskiy. And there are arguments to be made about other guys, but Vasi, I mean, what did he have? 4 Stanley Cup Finals appearances, 2 Stanley Cup wins. I mean, there's no denying what this guy was capable of doing. I get that he wasn't the starter when they went to the finals the first time in 2015, but still, he was fine. Either way, though, Andrei Vasilevskiy is a level of goaltender that is unobtainable by any random dude in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. It's so difficult to find goaltenders that eventually become as good as what was a first-round talent in Vasilevskiy, that the fact that we could even say that for the Montreal Canadiens, they do have a prospect who, at the very least, is matching Andrei, statistically speaking, that's a pretty good thing. It doesn't even matter if Volokhin does not pan out. It doesn't matter if he never plays a game in the NHL. He was a 5th round pick, 144th overall. You don't have any expectations for these kinds of guys to actually make the show and make just stellar superstar careers for themselves. Oh, is he the next Vasilevskiy? Is he going to win multiple Stanley Cups? Is he going to get Conn Smythe trophies and Vezinas here and there? Like, probably not. If you were to bet money on it, you'd probably have a lot better odds saying no. But at the same time, I mean, right now he is outscoring Vasilevskiy, or outsaving Vasilevskiy, I guess is the proper verb for goaltenders. Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Montreal Canadiens prospect, Yevgeni Volokhin, and his entire profile heading into 2024-2025. Do you think he's got some NHL potential in his blood? Do you think he's got what it takes to keep up that pace, out-producing Vasilevskiy, and potentially being something for the Montreal Canadiens? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.